Well, welcome back, guys, to another Broker Corner. My name is Chris Barbeau. I'm a real estate broker in the state of California, and hopefully you'll find this video helpful. I want to talk a little bit about appraisal gaps, what we call appraisal gaps. The market right now has been such, at least over the last year or so, that buyers are offering above what a property may appraise for, and in those cases, they're often willing to pay above the appraised value, so we call that an appraisal gap typically. Prior to the new R.P.A. being released in December, this was a pretty cumbersome process. You had to sort of freestyle type into your offer that they're willing to do this and make sure your verbiage was just perfect. I'm happy to say that the new R.P.A. does address this scenario, and I want to show you how it's addressed in the new R.P.A. that came out in December of 2021. So I've got it up here on the screen. I want to scroll right down to the grid, what I call the grid here. And we want to take a look at this section right here where it addresses the appraisal contingency. So you'll notice there's some verbiage here that basically says the appraisal contingency based upon appraised value at a minimum of purchase price or, and it allows you to put another number. So I'll give you an example. Let's say it's the house is listed for $500,000. You're offering $520,000 and you're willing to cover a appraisal gap of $20,000. So if it comes in at $500,000, you're willing to cover the difference between the appraised value and the sales price as a buyer. So what you're going to do is put $500,000 here. So your appraisal contingency is for $500,000, even though you're offering $520,000 as an example. So this immediately takes care of what we would call an appraisal gap. The buyer's still willing to purchase the property. All it has to do is appraise for $500,000. It's automatically assumed that they're going to cover the difference. So hopefully that's helpful. I do want to mention one other thing. There's obviously an option over here for no appraisal contingency. But below that, there's something here that I think I want to call out your attention to. It has to do with the FHA VA amendatory clause addendum. And it's really important to understand that if your client is getting an FHA loan or a VA loan, regardless of whether there's a gap, regardless of whether there's no appraisal contingency, that addendum actually allows them to cancel and theoretically get their deposit back if it doesn't appraise. So it says right here, removal of the appraisal contingency does not eliminate appraisal cancellation rights under the FVAC. So something important to remember, but hopefully this clears things up exactly how this will work. So once again, this is what they're willing to pay as far as the appraisal goes, or not what they're willing to pay, but what they're willing to accept an appraisal at versus what they're offering in a purchase price. So hopefully you find this helpful. I'm sure this is going to be a subtle change that some people haven't realized yet, but definitely an improvement over trying to freestyle some verbiage on your contract that may or may not be right when it comes to your buyer's willingness to cover that difference between the appraised value and the purchase price. So any questions, feel free to let me know. You can leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I guess we will see you in escrow.